Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tub Talks. This is episode 5. I'm really excited to introduce you to Kristin Iris. She is a transformation mentor, and she works with women all over the world now that she is a new digital nomad, and she helps women move back she helps them work past resistance and blocks and fears so that they can show up powerfully in life. And Kristin is all about just helping you get past bullshit, because there's a lot of bullshit out there in life. And I was first introduced to her when I was listening to a podcast called Real Feminine Stories, and I loved her strength and just how real and honest she is. So you are all in for a treat today to be able to hear what Kristin has to share with you all. And welcome, Kristin, and thank you for being on Tub Talks. How do you feel being here right
now? I feel good. I like it. I'm like, ooh, never done an interview in a bathtub, so I'm digging that part. This bathtub is hot though, so I'm definitely like sweating, but that's okay because it's real. It's real. So so I am a transformation mentor, and really, like you said, I help people to clear out the old bullshit that's holding them back. And so that really is about your underlying and really deep-rooted beliefs, conditionings, ideas about who you are, who you have to be, how you're supposed to act, how you're not allowed to act, and really unraveling yourself from these old, what I call like your old stories, so that you can be who you are and show up powerfully in your business, your relationships, your life, and actually pursue the life that you really want. Yeah. I mean, you understand, like you said you were a nurse, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And that you were not loving it and you broke out of that. But I come across so many people who they're like, yeah, well, I followed this route because like I was told that I needed security and I needed this and I needed that. Or people who are worried about what people think of them or if people will judge them. And I think this is something that a lot of people deal with, but women in particular. I think there is something about women in particular and how we are socialized to conform, because that makes our society continue to run on patriarchal ideals and values and in a patriarchy. So what I do is really try to break that. Embrace all the parts of yourself. There are parts of us that we not like to because we don't like to do it, but that we lock up or we close down or we deny or we pretend aren't there because we want to make ourselves more acceptable to either the people around us or to society. And all of that is based in fear. Like, I'm afraid of what people think. I'm afraid of how people will judge me. And those fears can be very real. You are accepting and loving all the parts of who you are. That is what I try to help women to do, because when we get to that place of like radical self-love and standing in glory unapologetically in all the aspects of ourselves and really letting them shine through, that is where power is. Like, that's where we stand in our power. And I want more and more women standing in their power. So that's like the kind of like the overall in thinking about what I like to do and how I like to help people.
So Kristin, how did you get into this role? Is there like a background story that, because you're really obviously passionate about what you do, and I know that you used to be a yoga instructor at one time, and so I'm just like really curious as to how did you find this calling in life?
It was by doing it for myself. Like, probably about 7 years ago, a little more than 7 years ago, my life went kablooey and everything fell apart. And I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? And who am I really? Because I was like so disconnected from myself, like as an adult, like I had not adulted alone, And so I had to go through, like, actively take myself through this process of like, what's holding me back? What are my fears? What's my truth? What am I not speaking? What am I not, where am I not showing up fully for myself? What are the parts of myself I've shut down? And exploring that for myself, which at times was very painful and sometimes was very glorious.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a full spectrum. And part of that was dealing with certain aftermath of certain things and dealing with certain things just like going on in my life and relationships. Um, but it was really about this process that I've done for myself that was so transformative that really changed my life and changed how I show up for myself, how I show up for the things that I want to create for myself, how I show up in relationships, in friendships. That as I went through that process, there are things I realized like, wow, I had no idea that this is what was going on. And if I had not actively tried to discover that, I never would have seen it. And looking at that, I was like, how many other women are out there and have no idea how deep the rabbit hole goes? And I'm like, I did this process without support, like without like I didn't have like a coach or a mentor, you know, like me. I didn't have someone like me. I didn't have really any guidance. I mean, I had things that I was taking from different people and different things and books and just different experiences and putting them all together for myself. And I was like, what if I just put this together for other people? Because I know that the things that are blocking people in their creative endeavors, and I say that because they started with working with writers, like I know that the things that are blocking them are writing are not about writing. They're about something else deeper down. And they're gonna keep trying to solve this in a writing context, and they're not gonna solve it because the real problem is deeper down. The writing is just a trigger for it. And so this is something I could see all around me. And I was like, I need to help people get deeper into their shit. To be like, to stop thinking about like, oh, well, but I just have fear around like going on Facebook Live, or I just have fear around writing this novel. And it's like, no, you don't have fear around writing the novel. You have fear about being visible. You have fear about being judged. You have fear about not living up to people's expectations. That's your problem. The writing, the Facebook Live, the this, the that, the business, the whatever is just triggering it. And it's triggering this like both a desire to break out of the shell of who you think you're supposed to be, and also the fear of doing so. And a lot of times people aren't quite aware of that, and I like to bring that awareness to them. And I'm like, I have the tools, I have the strategies, I have the resources to help you to break through this crap, to get really deep down, peeling away like I think of it like layers. Even if you think of like a tree and then the roots go down and then the soil, and there's even layers of soil, is peeling away the layers to really get down to the very base root of what is holding you back, and addressing it from there, seeing, okay, where is this creating a pattern in my life? Where is this showing up elsewhere? Oh, it's not just in my writing. It's not just in my business. It's in my relationships. It's in how I talk to my mom. It's in how I, deal with the rude guy at the coffee shop. It's in, this and that, and addressing that root and then creating new patterns to help them to new empowering patterns instead of the old entrapping patterns. And so I did that for myself, and I was like, I'm taking all of this and I'm going to bring it to other women, because we can be amazing, powerful change makers if we just stop getting in our own way.
Yes, cheers to that. Oh, it's so cool. I love that you think that way. And it's so cool that you live your life of service and using a lot of your own personal examples to just help women every day. And you're right. There is a lot of women that need help with this, because we're so trapped in our own minds and our own lives, and we can't move forward and do what we're supposed to be doing in life. And do you have some specific examples of women that you're working with right now, just that you could share today, of maybe common things that all women are going through? Am I making sense of
that? Some of the most common things that I come across are people pleasing. Okay. Which is dangerous, because a lot of people some of the women are they're like, I'm kind of a people pleaser and I just realized that and I don't like that about myself. And some women are like, but I'm just really caring and I want everybody to be happy. And it's like, do you really want everybody to be happy, or do you want everybody to like you because you're insecure? Do you want everybody to be happy, or you want everyone to be taken care of? Or are you doing that because you're like, okay, well, if I do this, they won't judge me or reject me? Because it's disingenuous, it's false, it's and it's dangerous, because you're trying to create a dynamic between you and someone else that is not based in like a mutual respect or a mutual sense of caring. It's based in, I'm going to act this way with you because I want you to treat me a certain way, which we all want to be treated nice, but like you also want to be able to be yourself. And so people pleasing is one that I come across with a lot of people. Perfectionism, and that also is based in fear. It's like this: if I'm perfect, nobody can deny me, nobody can judge me, you know. Or if I'm perfect, then people will like me, or nobody can say, "Well, I told you so." And perfectionism, like, I mean, nobody's perfect. Nothing is perfect. You're literally fighting a losing battle. It's just like the fear of not being liked and wanting everyone to like you. Do you like everybody? Because I don't like everybody. And I know everybody doesn't like me. So if I'm trying to be liked by everybody, I'm fighting a losing battle. I will never win that battle. And the only way to even try to win that battle is to be fake. And people don't like fake. Even fake people don't like fake. So these are some of the things that I come across, or like overgivers, like self-sacrificers. That was me. A self-sacrificer, the like, but I want to save everybody, and like, but if I can see, or like in relationships, I can see his potential. If I can just help him, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna happen. Stop trying. Stop living your relationship off of potential. Like the person in front of you is the person you have. So these are some of the things, and like people talk about fear of failure or fear of success. And I actually kind of hate that one because there's no such thing as fear of failure or fear of success. You're not afraid of failure. Failure is so vague. It's like, what does that even mean?
Right.
Okay, I had someone who I came over, she posted on Facebook, she's like, well, I signed up to do a 5K, but I'm afraid that like what if I fail? And I'm like, how do you fail a 5K? Like, even if you don't finish, like what exactly is failure? Because it's a 5K, you're not actually competing against anybody. It's not like there's a first prize. It's like you run and either you finish or you don't. So like, what exactly is failure? She was like, oh. She's like, I just realized that the only real failure is if I don't even try it. I was like, there you go run, girl, go run. You know, but it's like failure is so vague. No one's afraid of failure. They're afraid of what failure is going to mean for their life, or what it's going to say about them as a person. I'm not worthy. I'm not of value. I didn't have anything to bring. People shouldn't listen to me. They're afraid of that. Not failure. Failure is just, it's so subjective, you know? Or success. It's like you're afraid that you're going to reach it and you can't maintain it. You're afraid you're going to get something and you're going to lose it. You're afraid that it's going to change who you are, that people aren't going to like you anymore. That's what you're afraid of. So like, get real honest about what you're afraid of, because that's going to tell you where you're not showing up fully, where you're not actually being yourself. Because if you're like, all right, I'm not going to try because I'm afraid of success, or I'm afraid that success is going to change me, not really being you, because you're not pursuing what it is you really want. Okay, and if you're like, well, I don't want to try this because I'm afraid I'm going to fail, and your idea of failure is people are going to tell me that I'm not worthy, or people are going to think I'm not worthy, it's like, that's your problem, is you're afraid you're not worthy. So we need to address that. Where's the story deep down? Where's the old conditioning that told you that you're not worthy, that you aren't worthy of success, that you aren't worthy of being listened to, that you aren't worthy of love? Where's that story? Because let's look at that and fix that. And when you get to that root, that's where you're like, all right, now that I cleared that out, I can be a little bit more of me. And you clear out the next thing, you be a little bit more of who you are. Not that I've actually come across this in terms of people approaching me for it, because I don't like label myself as like a sex or sex positivity coach, but like sex is another thing. Sex and sexuality is like, oh, I can't be too sexy. I can't be aggressive. I can't sleep with too many partners because then I'm a slut and people won't respect me. That is a societal message. That is what society tells us. Or if you sleep with too many people, you're not worthy of love. So these are some of the things that that one is definitely one that I have had to address, and I'm still working on it. But I know that there's people that have come across, I'm like, I'm gonna guess that sex is one of those areas where you're not really, like, where you're kind of shutting down who you are. And she was like, oh, totally. It's like, I'm definitely not being like fully sexual. And that's one of the things, like, I'm like, we need to be, however you are sexually, like, let it out. you know, and not everybody's like this super sexual vixen, but some people are, and they're like playing this meek little mouse, you know, like that was me. And some people are like, I'm just not really that into it or something, you know, but it's like, be who you are sexually too, because that is one of the places where like we tend to shut down, and like when you can embrace your full like sexual power, that it just adds fuel to everything else. Like that's also creative power, you know, that's creative energy. It adds fuel to everything else. So these are some of the ways that people shut themselves down, or not wanting to be seen, like, oh, well, I just like to see on the sidelines. I'm afraid of people seeing me. And it's like, you're afraid of judgment. You're afraid people won't like you. Let's trust that. Where'd that come from? You know, and it comes from all kinds of stories, society, or your parents. Like some people have parents that are like, parents who told them they weren't worthy, that they were never going to be anything, that they were going to be nothing and never accomplish anything. And it's shitty, but that's a story that is still stuck in you, and you have to clear it out so you can be somebody, be you.
Yes, be you.
Be
So basically,
you.
you're just like helping people to put a name to their fears, and once they can like clearly acknowledge and define what they're afraid of, then you're like, okay, now we can really go in and attack and face this head on. So that way it's not just like this entire vagueness, this vague cloud that's hanging over you your whole life, and you're like, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm miserable, and I'm not happy, and I'm not making the money I want to, or living the life I want to. And I'm totally about that in my coaching style as well. Is like when people are like scared, I'm like, that's way too big. Let's find, what exactly are you afraid of? Or
What are
when,
you afraid of? What would that mean?
yeah, or when people set goals, people set really big goals and then they're scared of them. And I'm like, let's go ahead and like, let's break this goal down into measurable steps. So that way it's not so scary. That way it seems more attainable. So I just think what you're doing is really powerful, because the vagueness is, it can just kill you with anxiety and being overwhelming. And yeah, so I'm just really happy that you're doing what you're doing in the world. We need this as women. And I like that you brought up the whole like the sex thing as well. Obviously sex, sexuality, super hard topic to talk about in society. I even listened to this podcast one time. Oh, it was like a TED Talk on a podcast, and they were talking about how society really tries to suppress women's sexuality, because a woman who enjoys sex and like is not afraid to say that is a powerful woman. And I feel like maybe society doesn't know how to deal with powerful women, so they want to try to take away women's power. And it's like, that's not fair. So I'm glad that you brought that topic up.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's a lot of times people are so stuck on the surface of like, oh, I just feel anxious, or oh, I have self-doubt, and it's like, that's the surface, that's like up here. What about all the shit down beneath that is leading you to be anxious, that's leading you to feel self-doubt, that's leading you to feel fear, or that's leading you to be a perfectionist? That's the stuff, that's the deep down crap that we need to clear. Those are the deep down messages that we've internalized that we need to break out of. So it's like, it's all about these layers, but like a lot of people are only aware of what's on the surface, and it's like, when we get down to the deep down, that's where you can create real change. Like you could sit there and be like, oh, I'm afraid to press, I'm afraid to hit send on this email, or hit send on, or hit publish on this blog. And it's like, all right, I'm gonna plow through, all right, I'm not gonna let this stop me, and you hit send, and that's great. But then the next time you write a blog, you're like, oh, I don't wanna hit send, I don't wanna hit publish. And it's like, you're coming up against the same fear over and over, no matter how many times you try to plow through it, or how many times you try to like overcome, because you're not actually getting to the root of what's holding you back. And it's not always fear. It could be shame. It could be guilt. It could be like shame, like with sex, is if you've been shamed or you have internalized shame about your sexuality, that's something that you can clear up. Or if you're like, I have anger about this thing or how I was treated, and it's holding me back from moving forward in this direction because I'm still holding on to this anger. It's like you have to address that thing, because that's the only way to like clear off this surface stuff. The surface things that we think are holding us back are not what's holding us back. And so you have to get to like, what is that root block? And that's like where I want to get people to their big dream, but that starts with being who you truly are and being yourself 100% and loving yourself and accepting yourself. And it's challenging. And it is not a process that ends. It's not like you go through this big transformation and you're like, whoo, all right, I'm enlightened, I'm gonna sit down with Buddha. Like, that's not how it happens. You know, you make a breakthrough and then you have to cycle back through. And it's like, all right, something else is gonna come up. You're gonna hit another limit. But then you can be like, oh yeah, I know how I tackled this last time. I can work through this. Let me, like, you're better able to recognize when your limits come up, when your blocks come up, when your fears come up, and be like, oh yeah, this is old. I don't have to live in this. This isn't me, and this isn't going to define my life. And then you go back through your strategies, your process, and you make more forward movement, and then you make outward. And that outward can be scary for people because we also have this stigma about taking up space. Like, women aren't allowed to take up space. You have to make yourself smaller. Can't take up too much space. That's the man's space. So this expansion is like, take up some fucking space. This is your life. It's your world. Take up some space and own it.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like that could be like the name of a book or a program, or take up some
Take up some fucking space. Yeah.
So obviously one of the best ways for women to get past a lot of their fears and blocks would be to work with you one-on-one, Kristin. But say if someone does not work with you one-on-one, what would be like the next best option for them to start taking steps in their own life if they feel like they have a lot of blocks and resistances and to get past them?
The very first thing I would say is just start actually like writing down what your resistances are. Like, when do you feel resistance? When do you feel like or like a anxiety or something like that? Like, when do you start to feel weird? When do you feel uncomfortable? And start writing down, like, what are the things that make you feel uncomfortable and what is that discomfort? Like, what are you feeling in that moment? Are you feeling fear? Are you feeling shame? Are you feeling like sadness? Are you feeling like, you know, what exactly are you feeling? Because getting tuned into what you feel is a really powerful way of understanding and tuning into what's really going on deeper down. Like, people talk about overcoming fear, and I'm like, no, use fear. Fear is your access point to what's actually happening. When you feel fear, that's the point to be like, okay, what's going on for me here? Like, what is this fear about? Where did this come from? Where did I learn this? You know, what's the old message that came up that taught me to be afraid right now? You know, it's the same thing with other feelings. Like, okay, I'm angry. What am I angry about? What am I feeling? What's coming up for me here? You know, and that, even if you're just on your own, it would be to start paying attention to physically what you feel, because our emotions will rise up in our body before our brain can catch up. Like, we'll get alerts in our gut, our shoulders will get tense, start to feel hot, your heart will start to speed up, or you'll feel cold, like different sensations for different people. You get sweaty. And so paying attention to the physical sensations, and then, okay, what am I actually feeling? Like, what's the emotion? Where does this come from? And just starting to dissect the different things and the different resistances that come up. And that'll give you more insight into, like, okay, this is where I need work. And then you can seek out, like, how do I get this work? Me. I mean, or other people, but that's where that's where you can start paying attention to, where do I really need work? Where am I not showing up? Where do I need to get some clearing and some clarity and some movement and shifts? And that is something that you can do just on your own to help you.
I think that's great advice. And I really hope that helps a lot of people who watch this today, because you're right, it's a great place to start. It's free, it's easy, it's simple. It's just, I guess, like basically being mindful and being aware of what you're feeling and not being afraid of it, not running away from it, but just saying, like, okay, I'm feeling scared right now. I want to like dig a little bit deeper, and yeah, write it down, see it in front of your eyes, and give yourself permission to just explore and to not feel like a bad person for having feelings. I know a lot of times we think that emotions are bad, but they're awesome. They're like,
yeah.
I like to think of them as like having your own little personal like guru inside of you or psychic inside of you. Like, they are just every day they're gifts to you, letting you know this is what's going on in your life right now. Like, pay attention to me. And then we get so good at being like, no, you were bad. I should not be having you. I'm pushing you away. And so it sounds like you're really saying just listen to that and see what it's trying to tell you. Don't be scared of it, and use it to empower you in life and decisions and everything going forward.
Yes, and take action. I mean, that's the thing, is like we have these emotions, and there's a full spectrum of emotion. So a lot of times we're like, I only want to feel the good. I don't want to feel the bad. That's not how it works. Right. If you are like shutting yourself down from feeling negative things, or you're trying to numb out from feeling like negative things, I'll put finger quotes there because that's debatable. But if you're numbing yourself out, then you're also actually numbing yourself out from the full spectrum of like joy and bliss and radiance, because you can't numb yourself out from one thing without numbing yourself out of everything at least a little bit. And so letting yourself feel fully is really powerful. And it may not feel like it in the moment. You're like, what the fuck? This makes me feel like I'm out of control. Yeah, it's probably because you haven't done it in a while. You know, and so when you get to that place of like, okay, I can feel everything, you also end up in this place of like, I can feel everything, and I can also shift how I feel. Like, I can feel really, really negative, but I also know what really positive feels like, and I know how to shift myself out of feeling super negative. You know, like, you can start hacking yourself into the feelings that you like without denying the things that you don't want to feel all the time. You know, but letting yourself feel them, letting them be expressed, gives you the power to really experience the full spectrum of emotion and of experiences, and let yourself live it fully.
Love that. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I think that advice was really incredibly valuable, and I just love like your energy when you show up on calls, interviews like this. You're just you take up a lot of fucking space. I think it's awesome.
I do. Thanks. I do take up a lot of space. I'm proud of it. I didn't used to, so that's why I'm proud of it.
Yes, for sure. So yeah, that's it. So I will put all your links in the description so people can reach out to you if they feel like they really connected with you today. And hopefully we can have you back on the show in the future, because I'm hoping this show
Yes.
years.
That'll be awesome. Oh, I do have a freebie for you guys.
Oh yes, please tell us about your freebie. I'm gonna drink wine while you tell us about that.
Yeah, drink your wine. Love it. So my it's actually a video training, or it's kind of like workshop style, and it's creating your future vision. And so this is like my process for how I really step into like that future vision of what I'm creating, and creating that, like getting tuned into it, and then a practice for bringing it into your now. Like, how do you cultivate this now, and why this is so powerful? It's because when you get into that vision of what you're creating, you can actually move forward to it. Like, too many of us are stuck on like, I want to escape where I am, or I just feel so shitty. And it's like, okay, but where do you want to go? And what do you like, who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What do you want to create? And a lot of times that is something that gets people in this motivation of like, oh my God, that is what I really want. I need to stop shutting myself down. I need to stop denying these things. I need to stop trying to shape myself into what other people want. And that can be a really powerful practice, like exercise and also daily practice, to really help you move forward with like your own evolution and your own expansion, and creating what it is that you want for yourself. So it's also going to have a workbook, companion workbook, but it is going to be a live training replay that you'll be able to get. And you can go, like you said, the link will be in the description, but it'll be ignitethriveCreative.com/tubtalks. And that's where you can go to get it.
Cool, that's an awesome treat, and I can't wait to have people sign up for this freebie and experience that.
Yeah, thanks. Well, thank you for having me on. I love it. Bathtub time.
That's right. Bathtub time, no makeup, real talk, real stories.
Yep. All right, excellent.
All right. Bye, Kristin.
Bye.